And I remember that conversation too. And as soon as she starts moving things with her mind, I'm like, oh, that's the reference to Friday the 13th. And then at the very end, I'm like, wait, that's the reference to Friday the 13th.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So
they basically made Carrie versus Jason.
Yes.
Without paying for the rights of Carrie.
They did. Carrie versus Jason. I love it.
Yeah.
It's the Remedial Field Class Podcast. Travis and George and Dan. They're the Remedial Field Class Podcast. Take your seat. It's time to begin.
Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
And I am George.
George, do you ever have performance anxiety when you're about to start a show with your band?
Never.
Next time you're getting ready for the show, I want you to look out at the crowd, and I want you to think, they're all going to laugh at me.
Oof.
And then show them your fun bags. Is that what her mom called?
No.
What would her mom call her?
She called them like something about your devil pillows or something.
She called them something, and then she said devil pillows. I thought it was fun bags. I guess not.
Maybe I
should
missed,
go back
maybe
watch
I
it
missed
again.
it.
This movie is worth a second look. Guys, we watched 1976 Carrie. George, initial impressions
sir.
before we get into who made it and why we're watching it. How did you
All right,
like the movie Carrie?
You're going to have to really get into like who made it and stuff like that, because there was like a ladies' locker room scene while the credits were rolling.
Right off the bat.
And I'm like, I'm trying to like pay attention to like whose names and stuff are across the screen. And I'm like, I can't read any of this, man.
Yeah, that was my first note is George is not reading these credits.
You were about to get a full frontal of Nancy Allen. You don't look at the credits.
Yeah, I'm like, let me just like, all right, let me check the names real quick. All right, no,
Nope.
I didn't retain any of that. Nope, not at all.
Yeah, he has no idea who directed this, who was in it.
No, I know it was DePalma because you told me that last week. But
Okay.
like, yeah, if you hadn't, I wouldn't remember that.
It was actually Tim Burton. But
It was not Tim Burton, unless Brian DePalma is like a stage name for Tim Burton.
could be.
Well, Tim Burton's probably a stage name for like Tim Burton. But I don't know.
It's short for Timothy.
So once you got out of the credits and the shirts went
Yeah.
back on, did you enjoy
Oh,
the rest of
yes.
the movie, George?
No, not at all. It was terrible, but it was good. I'm glad I watched it. It's one of those movies where, like if someone now that I have seen it, confessed that they hadn't seen it, I would say, "Oh, you have to see that." And if they were like, "Oh, is it good?" I'd be like, "No, but you have to see it." You know what I mean? Like it's iconic.
Yes.
There's lots of scenes in here I recognize, and I'm glad that I watched it because now I like understand a lot more of the pop culture that has happened. It even in my own household as I was growing up, I had no idea that some of the things that
Why you were looked at a
were
certain
being
way.
referenced.
Yeah.
Like literally, we've talked about this before. You know, when I was growing up, Travis is now my brother-in-law, but at some point, Travis was a boyfriend, right? And like,
Of your sisters.
know,
Oh, your
And-
sister's, not yours. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying, like,
well, you
you're
said
just
you're
too young
my
for me.
brother-in-law now. I didn't say you were my husband now, but you were a boyfriend, right?
Yes.
My sister's boyfriend, and my mother, like,
Was not that bad.
was not that bad, but
She had her moments.
I just remember like Travis referencing this movie and like comparing my mother to this mother, and I had never seen the movie.
I was 17, folks. I had a
So-
lot of anger.
So,
Oh my God.
like, you know,
Mom, I love you.
so there was like references happening in my household when I mean, how old was I? Like 8 years
Yeah.
old?
Between 5 to 8.
Yeah, when when you were dating my oldest sister. So like I didn't know any of this stuff, but like now it's like all making sense. So
Yeah.
there you go.
We were able to tie up some loose ends that have been sitting there for 20-something years.
Yeah.
I had a lot of feelings watching it this time because I hadn't seen it in a long time. Like, we're talking maybe 30 years.
Okay.
25 years since I've seen this. And back then I didn't think of these things, but watching it now, I'm like, I there's so much about this movie that could have been way more phenomenal, but because it was made when it was made, they didn't kind of get deeper.
It does suffer from being made in the 70s.
Because there's a lot of interesting stuff they could have done and they didn't, which made it feel rushed. And like it's basically 2 days in the life of this girl.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching it.
Well,
and I'm
it's like a week, but yeah.
But it feels like you're watching a sitcom, and it's like like a week, but it feels like 2 days. Because all of a sudden it's like she's in the shower and then she's going to the prom.
Yeah, it does skip. Like the prom was like a week away.
Yeah, and
when
then you
the
get the
shower
punishment.
thing happened.
To me, it was basically they had an ending in mind. They knew what they wanted to do with her. They knew the outcome.
Yes.
They knew they wanted to point out which I'm sure Dan's going to bring up, the hysteria. They wanted to point out the hysteria, the religious hysteria of the time.
Yes.
And they wanted to show the result of that. But I felt that watching it this time, that it kind of suffered from not giving more interaction, more discovery between Carrie and her mother. You know, have her mother treat her like she's possessed. Have her mother, she did the punishment in the closet, but it was like so like quick. Like there should have been more where she felt like she was evil. She felt like I am what my mother thinks I am, and then have her have the discovery that she's just got a gift. She's like an X-Man. Like she's got a gift that everybody doesn't understand. And her mother, who's supposed to love her the most, is the worst at not understanding what she has. And then calling her this and that. And I was just like, okay, it would have been way more interesting if there was all that back and forth between her mother and the discovery, just her figuring out who she is and why she's doing what she's doing. Because they were trying. They had her at the library. They had her reading. But they were so worried about getting her to the prom and doing that whole, she's all that storyline where they're going to, fake ask her out, take her to the prom, and then kind of give you the bait and switch where they really were trying to be nice and the other two weren't. Like they had that outcome, but they didn't. There wasn't a great payoff. Like I really wanted to see Carrie, especially since Sissy Spacek is so good. I would have liked to see her discovery of not being possessed, not being evil, and actually being a gifted person. Right. And that would have been really cool. I don't know how you do that in an hour and a half.
Well, and that's
they
the
can
thing,
do
right?
it now.
You want the 3-hour Marvel version of this movie, and that,
No.
or the 8-episode HBO miniseries, and we're dealing with a 90-minute
2-hour movie
70s.
would have been fine.
I don't know.
2 hours.
Hey, so
That's
George,
a lot to do in 2 hours, but yeah.
Brian
They do
DePalma,
it today.
as we talked about with Scarface, he's one of my favorite directors. This is another movie like Scarface that I don't think of as like a De Palma movie. Because the De Palma movies that I'm most in love with are a different style altogether. But technically, this had so many Brian De Palma shots sprinkled in the middle of this Stephen King Maloo that I was just like, yeah, it's a De Palma movie. I need to retrain my brain.
A lot of the framing was definitely him.
Oh man, all that split diopter thing.
Split, yeah.
Oh,
And the perspective, like the faded person in the background and then the close-ups. Like in the classroom, I was like, oh, this is totally De Palma. And it's great because you get the acting performance. You can see what the surrounding characters are doing, but you still get your focus. I like that.
Yeah, there's even a very like a standard 3-shot where the J and B should have been if it was Scarface. So it checked all my boxes. Did you catch that it was a Stephen King book, George?
Yes, I did see that. Yes.
Okay, so you saw some of the credits in between all the goings on.
Boobs, yeah.
Yes, all the goings on. Yes,
the B&B.
Yeah, an Italian amount of boobs, I would say, at the beginning of this movie. It feels very much like some of those Giallos. Red Rings of Fear comes to mind as one that has a kind of egregious, unnecessary shower scene. And here we are with the equivalent. So, to be fair, this was 2 years before Red Rings of Fear, so maybe that's just more Italian knockoff. John Travolta's in this movie, guys.
Yes, he is. Tearing up the screen.
Now, did you recognize John T?
Terrible actor.
Yeah, I did. And I think
that's Barbarino. Travolta.
Yeah, he might be on the same level as the other guy.
Cage?
Yeah.
I mean, it does make him
we definitely need to watch Face Off.
a very good
they're both
Face
in
Off.
it.
I've seen that, and I think
Okay.
that's the reason why I don't like either of them. I saw one like a long time ago when I was a kid, but I actually watched it and remember it.
Mm.
And yeah, Cage.
There's only one good scene in that movie to
Travolta.
watch. Other than that, it's not that good.
Yeah.
I
saw a
might
really
be
good
able to
meme.
save John Travolta for you at some point,
Okay.
but I
Yes.
can only think of one movie that'll do it.
There's a couple, but I know what movie you're talking about.
Well, let me tell you the meme I saw. It was like Nick Cage like through the years, and it was like pictures of him like getting older, and like right in the middle was a picture of John Travolta, and then it was like
That's fun.
all the other
That's
pictures
good.
of. So that was funny.
It was good watching them impersonate each other, like
Yes.
body language and
know-
like the behavior. But
You know what you would really like if you like good acting like that, like actors acting like each other. There's an episode of Community
Oh boy.
that's gonna be our shirt. You
where
knew
they,
that, right?
where they
There's
do
an episode.
where like Troy and Abed do like a Freaky Friday
Mhm.
thing, and they actually switch characters, and they both like pretend they act each other's personalities. It's very good.
Sounds good.
So
Not as good as Jamie Lee Curtis in Freaky Friday, but I'm joking. That's sarcasm.
I haven't seen Jamie Lee
You
Curtis.
didn't? Your mom didn't let you watch that?
I know, no.
That's
I
a
think,
Disney movie.
I think I've seen it, but like
They're all gonna laugh at you.
I'm just I don't know. I'm adjacent to all those girly
Gotcha.
Disney movies. I know of them, but
I mean, you grew up in a house full of girls,
right.
So, yeah.
like I said, I have
and
some.
you have been caught watching Hannah Montana on your own. So just saying.
That's because I mean, Miley Cyrus.
Yeah.
She's our generation's Dolly Parton.
Okay,
She's a treasure. So
she's definitely a chest.
just put that out there. No, I like her. Like her a lot.
You
Anyway,
heard it here first. Okay,
back
Carrie.
to this movie.
Travolta.
Carrie, Travolta. Yeah, Carrie, Travolta. I'd do anything for you, babe.
Oh,
I'm
Jesus.
so confused, but you're sucking my dick, so okay.
So John Travolta's girlfriend, the evil Chris in this movie.
That
Did you recognize
bitch.
that actress at all?
No.
You have seen her before in one of your all-time favorite Remedial film class movies.
Oh, have I? She was in The
Yes.
Shining?
And I'll tell you, it's a Vicky Vale situation for me because as a
Okay.
kid, I saw Nancy Allen first in the other role, and that's kind of the box I kept her in. And then
Yeah.
to go back and watch these De Palma movies where she is, young and attractive, it's jarring to my brain. She is the partner to Alex Murphy in Robocop.
Oh.
Yeah. But she's all like short hair and kind of butched up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When we revisit RoboCop, he'll be like,
I
"Oh, that was the chick nude in the shower."
Yeah, I wouldn't have placed her there at all.
Yeah. But she's great in this. She ends up marrying De Palma, so she's in a bunch of his movies in a row.
Okay.
And she's excellent in all of
That's
them.
one way to date a woman is just have her do full frontal in your movie, and then edit this out. But I'm just saying, like, like if you're interested in an actress,
that sounds really similar to like shit that actually happened.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I guess that's the way it worked in
But
the
without
70s.
without the marrying afterwards.
Because James Cameron did the same thing. He married every one of the women that were in his lead in his movies.
Yeah.
Well, and people still, that Jennifer Lawrence lady was dating the director of Mother right after that. So, there's something about
Yeah.
artistic collaboration that brings the heart together, and then
Yeah.
box office results brings the
I've
hearts
seen it
apart.
happen even in community theater. I've seen it happen. I've seen like people that are acting across from each other. They end up being together
Yes.
because there's just like that. I don't know.
There's a connection there, man.
There's a connection.
There
yeah.
is something.
passion
Yeah,
there.
there is something about it when you connect with someone over, a hobby that you like really enjoy, or
Which is why my wife doesn't
or-
like me doing plays.
or your art. Well, she shouldn't. It's good to be a little jealous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, no, seriously, that's a thing.
Yeah.
She's
I
like,
guess.
oh, yeah. Yeah, no. Word. There's a lot of faces in this movie.
There's another face in the same shower, although not as nude. She ends up wearing a red hat for most of the time. Her name's Norma. She laughs
Yeah, I like
hysterically.
Norma.
Do you recognize Norma?
No,
Because
but I like
you
her.
you totally should.
Yeah.
Who is she?
She's from Halloween.
Yeah.
You see anything you like?
She's Linda.
Oh, that's her.
Totally.
Oh.
Totally.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize her.
I think it might be like her first or second role. It's before Halloween, obviously.
She was good. She reminded me a lot of myself in high school. She's quirky. She can tell us she's down to instigate.
I'm almost thinking it didn't say introducing PJ Souls, but I think this is like her first or second movie.
Yeah, she's been in some other stuff, but nothing of note. This is like definitely her biggest role to date at the time she's in it. And she nails it. Like she comes in, does the thing.
Yeah.
So I guess we did see something we liked.
And
her
Amy
acting.
Irving.
Yeah, and Amy Irving is great. Does a real good job. I don't know much of her other work. I mostly know her from this.
I remember her a lot of 80s movies.
You're saying
like
these
Mickey and
names,
Maude.
but I don't recognize.
Amy Irving was the friend, or the daughter of the woman that Carrie's mother goes and tries to sell religion to.
The daughter of the woman. Okay, yeah.
The girlfriend
she
of
was-
the guy that takes her to the
Yeah,
prom.
she was the nice one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
Where you
almost
weren't really
saves the
sure.
day, but
She almost
doesn't
saves
quite.
the day.
Yes, she tries to.
Yeah.
She tries to do something nice for Carrie. She realizes what's about to happen. She gets, she ends up being the only one that survives that whole
Yeah,
ordeal.
so she does a few bigger movies with like Dudley Moore and stuff. She was in Mickey and Maude
And then she gets Jasoned at the very end.
Before Jason.
Before
Ever existed.
Jason.
Yep.
That's what we were talking about last week. You don't get Friday the 13th Part 1 without the ending to Carrie.
Or Part
Yeah.
7.
And you don't get Friday
well,
Part 7 at all without
yeah.
all of Carrie.
Yes.
And I dare say you don't get the first or any of the other seasons of Stranger Things without Carrie.
True. Yeah, because
Oh my gosh.
11 is totally Carrie.
You just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, 11 is what I'm talking about. Like, they get a second chance to tell the Carrie story with a lot of development, like you said, if they have enough weeks.
Yeah, like Dan said
Yeah,
earlier.
if you have enough weeks, you can really. But I didn't need all that. I don't need like the government program creating these super soldiers, all that crap. Like just a little bit more character work with the mom and her would have been fine.
You know what I
Another 10
like about the
minutes.
way they did it, though, is that they leave it open enough that you can look at Carrie and go, is she an X-Man? As she's walking down
Right.
the street covered in blood and the school's on fire and everybody's dying. You think, like, maybe her mom was onto something.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just ambiguous enough that, yeah, you can assume she's a good guy and just push too far. But, like, also, she might have had a demon in her, boys.
It's possible.
They leave
it's
it
something
open.
It's something to definitely look into. But, I mean, they could have even talked about her, kind of like the Exorcist thing, where her mother doing what she does might have opened her daughter up to being possessed. Like,
Right.
I mean, there's plenty of things they could have done that just make it a little more interesting.
But if you put
I'm
too
sure
much
the
in
book
there,
is
then
better.
you start closing doors on people. If you
Yeah.
leave it like this, we can interpret it all the different ways, and they're all
True.
valid because there's nothing to contradict our stance.
I'm going to read the book, I think. I want to see what Stephen King had to say about it. I want to see if he put more character development in it.
I think
'Cause
isn't
it
it his
just-
first novel, his first big novel?
Yeah, it's either that or Cujo. I think it is Carrie.
So you probably don't get The Shining without Carrie
True.
as a book. That's interesting.
Hmm.
And they're only a few years apart. That's wild. Like his productivity during the high
God.
cocaine eras of the late 70s. Dude
Yeah,
wrote a
his
lot of
early
books really,
books.
really fast.
And they were all good. I mean, good stuff. Even the short stories were, made in the full-length movies. They were good.
I mean, George didn't like him, but
No,
What are you talking about?
like Stand By Me is a short story he wrote.
Oh.
Carrie, you haven't seen Pet Sematary. You haven't seen a couple of the other movies we're probably going to watch
Okay.
down the road. But he has touched a lot of really, really golden movies. Let's put it that way. We're based on his books.
Yeah.
We should watch Misery.
oh, I'm sure we will at some
No,
point.
I mean, I think I always kind of like, Stephen King's stories.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I said I didn't like this movie to start out, but like, I don't think the movie does as much justice.
I think the movie. You're right. It could have been a good movie.
Like the novel's
for
probably
everybody.
great.
The
is
what
what I'm
was?
s- The novel's probably
Probably,
great.
yeah. They
Like,
probably
this-
left a lot of stuff.
It's a
out.
cool. It's a cool idea. Like
Mhm.
yeah.
I mean, that
but-
last 10 minutes.
You
is
mean the
so-
last half hour?
Well, okay.
So
right when they pour that shit on her head,
yeah.
there's not a bad shot in that movie. Like, it's just so iconic. Like, every bit of it is just cool. Just that scene of her walking down the street, covered in, that's right out of like Hammer vampire movies, like the undead vampire girls walking from the grave in the street, and they're like all walking. Like, it's just a really cool visual. But it kept getting, and even when she was like, when she made that kid fall off his bike, like all that visual goodness kind of got downplayed by the wonky little kind of, oh, she's using her powers noise. It's like, it just kind of took me out of it.
It was like a.
Yeah, it was almost like the Psycho sound.
It was a Psycho.
Yeah, it was essentially
sound.
they did a Psycho. It's very interesting that they included the Psycho score
Mhm.
reference in the movie. That's a choice,
Yes. I think my biggest problem is they didn't really establish. I guess it's me, but they had this mom who is clearly a zealot, right?
She's over the top, man.
And they never really established what religion she is, but they kind of pulled from all different kinds of religions to create her religion. Like, it's very, it's kind of like I guess I don't know how to say it. Like that statue in the closet of Jesus, but he's shot with arrows, which is more like Saint. There's a saint
Saint Sebastian.
Sebastian. So it's like, but he's Christ on the cross.
Is he?
But
or
he's
was
covered
he
in
just
arrows.
Sebastian? I couldn't tell.
But no, they just wanted to mirror. They wanted to mirror her mother. So
Which
they
I
created,
think was a really dumb choice.
right. And I'm just like, either make it Jesus or don't. But don't like make this weird like Jobu statue.
I mean, maybe they couldn't get the copyrights for Jesus. You know what I mean?
Maybe
I
they
thought
didn't want to
exactly.
ruin the Robocop thing, so they had to wait.
It's
Maybe-
possible.
maybe.
I don't know. But to me, that threw me off a little bit. Like in The Exorcist, you're seeing, what religion everybody is. You know the verbiage. You feel connected because it's out of real, wording.
Yes.
With this, I was just like, okay, not only is she a zealot, but she seems like cultish because you don't even know what she's pushing. She talks about certain things that are familiar, but then her behavior and the house, like they had the Last Supper. So it's definitely Christian, but it's like the way she talks and the way the statues
and
are.
the book was clearly the Bible. I think
it seemed
it said Holy Bible on it.
Yeah, but it seemed like there's a bit of Protestant in there, there's a bit of Catholic, there's a bit of like different religions in this one household.
Yeah,
and they never really used that. Like, I think that would have made her powers and the struggle a lot more interesting if they nailed down where her mother was coming from and why. I mean, you kind of.
I don't think. Maybe it was a choice to
make it more ambiguous.
Make it more ambiguous so that it didn't seem like
Offend-
we were demonizing a certain.
Yeah, but it was
religion.
Was it 74? They didn't give a shit. They called everybody out back then. It didn't matter.
Maybe that's true too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Back then, it was like, this is it. We're gonna make them, Episcopal or whatever, and that's it. Like, I think in The Omen they establish religion, right?
Well, in The Omen you have to.
Yeah. So it's
in The Exorcist you have to.
Mhm.
In this
it just seemed more cartoony. It seemed cartoony.
She's not. I wouldn't. I mean, I'm gonna go out here on a limb and judge her real quick.
Okay.
She's not a good Christian,
No,
right?
not at all.
Okay, so
She put that money in her pocket real quick, though. Yeah, she's like, "Where's my $10?"
so like,
Pay me to go away.
So I don't know. I don't really care like what she is or what she thinks, or like what her quote unquote religion is, like what religion she belongs to, because whatever religion she's practicing, she's
wrong.
doing it wrong.
She's doing it wrong.
She's
Okay.
doing it wrong. Like,
Yeah.
clearly.
I think it just would have helped her daughter's quote unquote possession or her daughter's gift or whatever a little bit more if you knew more of I mean, with The Exorcist, you know the name of the demon, you know a lot going
this
on.
This movie does not compare to The Exorcist.
So it's
The Exorcist might be the greatest horror movie of all time.
One of them, but
like involving religion,
right?
That's a good one, and The Omen's the other one. Like these are major.
But this had the potential to be like The Omen. That whole not knowing, like that was the greatest part about The Omen. Is there even a like? Well, you don't even. It could have been the dad being crazy and like And I like that not proven thing that could have happened in this movie, where when she dies, and basically collapses the house on her and her mother. Was there any religion involved? Was she possessed? Which, I like the fact that there's a lot of questions. But I think that for a movie, they could have just taken an extra 20 minutes, make it a 2-hour movie, and really given you more meat, so you gave a shit more about what was going on. It just seemed very fast.
Yeah, I think
like Porky's.
I think in this movie, it was like religion was used as a tool to get to mom is crazy and abusive. That's it. Just mom is crazy and abusive. So,
See. So the other cameo that I brought up, well, it's
Was?
not really a cameo, but I forgot she was in it. You remember Ferris Bueller's Day Off, right?
See?
The principal, Rooney's sidekick, the receptionist, is like a teenage girl in this movie. Well, all of them were like 40, but she was a student, and I'm like looking at her, I'm like, oh my God, it's Mrs. Poole, who was on TV. It was I can't remember what the show was, but she was Mrs. Poole on that. But I only know her from her being older. It's like just seeing her as an old lady or someone's grandmother.
Which one's
or mother.
Mrs. Poole?
She had like big glasses. She wasn't one of the mean girls. She was part of that group that was getting punished. But she had a couple featured lines and stuff, and I kept seeing her. I was like, oh my God, like it's just somebody else that kind of becomes something way bigger. And this was like probably one of her first movies as well.
Okay.
And she really had a Barb vibe. You remember Barb from Stranger Things?
Yes.
So when she popped up, my wife and I watched this a couple days ago to prepare for the show, and I was like, hey, look, Barb vibes. She's like, oh my God, it's Barb. So.
Yes, definitely.
More of this in Stranger Things. Mr. Fromm in this movie is played by an actor named Sidney Lasik. You don't know him by name, and this might put Carrie into another like mind-blowing timeline thing. He's one of the teachers. He's like a heavy-set dude with brown hair. You've seen him before in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest as one of the mental patients named Cheswick.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing that blows my mind. Carrie comes out the year after Cuckoo's Nest.
Wow.
That's weird to me for some reason. There's something about the way that Carrie feels as like a modern, it feels like a proto 80s movie. Cuckoo's Nest to me is like, I don't know, it seems out of time in 75. It seems older than that. And so to know that they go back to back, it's kind of like when we found out that The Shining and Friday the 13th are the same year, certain things just don't feel like they belong together on the same timeline.
It's like two completely different genres.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where it's like, oh, it doesn't seem like it should be.
The teacher reading the poetry?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think the difference is Cuckoo's Nest is like Kubrick quality movie making.
Oh, yeah.
It's like 12 Angry Men. You know, everybody, even the guy who has no lines, is killing it with his lines. Like he's standing there silent, and you want to watch 10 minutes of his movie. And this is kind of almost like an after-school special, student film kind of feel. Although it's well made, and the shots are awesome, and it just has a more rushed, less character-driven feel. So that's just two different movies, even though they came out a year apart.
I think that I should probably watch it again for the cinematography aspect of it, because I think I was getting hung up on I think I was getting hung up on acting, and even there was like a lot of audio inconsistencies and like weirdness. So, and it was just like, I don't know. Like I said, I think it just suffers from being done in the 70s. But it's. I mean, and I know it's hard to get good audio outside, but like when they're doing the detention and everyone's exercising, there's a very stark difference between the shots where you see the teacher, you see the front of the teacher, like the camera's facing her, and then the camera is behind her in other parts of that outside, and the audio is so starkly different between those two.
Kind of throws you out.
I mean, for me, I'm just like, this movie sucks.
Hi, this is Dan in Post. I just wanted to take this opportunity to remind you that George is in a punk rock band, and we know audio fidelity is the number one concern of every punk rocker.
You know, and also the acting was, I don't want to say like it was terrible, but it was just like,
it reminded me a lot of like
over the top, kind of stagey.
It's like Prom Night.
Kind of, yeah.
Like almost like Disney acting where it's like over the top reactions.
Yeah.
And like, oh, what do you mean?
And I
like
think
everything is just
and
over.
I think that I probably just completely overlooked all of the fantastic cinematography, which
there is a
with
lot of.
DePalma is you know.
I think Sissy
that's his
Spacek
thing, so
it does a good job in this movie for what she's given.
Who's she?
And I think the
She's
mom,
Carrie.
the
she's
mom is
Carrie.
good too, although
the
it's
mom is
over the
good.
top.
It is. It's definitely over.
She's like 2 steps away from
Nicolas Cage.
No, I was thinking the mom from the movie that Aaron likes.
Oh,
yeah.
the aunt from Sleepaway
aunt,
Camp.
Yeah,
Sleepaway Camp.
She's like 2 steps away from Sleepaway Camp. She's bad.
Are you sure? Yeah.
But also,
I think they were directed to act that way.
I know exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, meh. Like, is it a good movie? Like,
I
is it a
think-
masterpiece? No. Like, is it a movie that like everyone really needs to see if they haven't? Yeah, it is.
I think about a movie like Halloween, where you have these same kind of characters,
Mhm.
Some of the same actors.
same actors. You're getting phenomenal performance out of Curtis.
Yep.
And you're getting the PJ Souls. Go get me a beer. Like she just doesn't. She's playing a character.
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis is being. She's that character. She is that person.
Right. That's who the movie is centered around.
She's
Anyway.
not acting. She's being. PJ Souls is acting. She has a line. She's like, "Oh, my line is go get me a beer or see anything you like." How many different ways can I say that?
And Annie is not acting at all. So
and Annie's not acting at all. So it's like, when you watch, what was the boyfriend's name in Halloween? The one that gets stuck to the wall.
I don't know.
that's a good question. I don't know that.
The stuck to the wall guy.
Whatever the hell his name was. But
Yeah.
he had that same ability that PJ Souls had, where like when he delivers a line, you can tell he sat down and said, "Okay, I'm going to say it like this. And then I'm going to try it like this." And they're going to use the best one.
Right.
As opposed to the person that's being the part. And whatever comes out is magic, and that's what gets kept.
Right.
That's when I talk about acting, that's the difference. So when I watch this movie, you can see who's doing the one thing and who's doing the other. I think Amy Irving and Sissy Spacek are doing good acting. I think the teacher's kind of in the middle. She has her moments where she's like, she's at 11.
Yeah.
But then she has some kind of intimate discussions that are pretty good acting.
Yeah.
And then you get like I would say, what was the chick from Robocop?
Oh,
Nancy
Nancy Allen.
She had a lot of good moments, but I think playing off of, she had a lot of pressure. She had to be the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
She had to be the mastermind. She had to be conniving and evil and this and that, but she couldn't be the level of Carrie. Like they had to make someone bad enough to do something shitty to this girl, but in the end, she needs to be more evil. She needs to be more of a crescendo of crazy. So I think they both did a good job of doing that. Travolta kind of brings Nancy Allen down a bit.
I don't know. The thing about John Travolta in this movie, if this was the first and only time I'd seen him, I would have thought on the face of it that he was just some dumb guy that they got because he was handsome. Like he embodies that part so strongly.
Yes.
That when you see him in other stuff later, you're like, oh, wait, was he good this whole time and I just didn't realize it?
Yeah. No, you're right, because he does handle roles in the future that you're like, oh wow, he is a good actor. And I think with this, they might have filmed this right around they were doing Welcome Back, Kotter. Like, it's not too far off. And he's playing Vinny Barbarino. That's who he's playing. And it's almost like too much. He's TV acting too much. Yeah. So it shows through, but Dan's right. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's playing that douchey, the guy who's going to bring the blood to the dance, go knock cows over in the field. That he's just a douche. Like, you need that guy to be the douche. And he was, but he was just kind of TV acting a bit. So it sticks out when he does it, but I think he was playing the part he was given. So
and this is his first major film role, too. So, I mean, he's coming out of the gate pretty strong here with a performance that it would have fooled me if I hadn't seen him in other stuff.
Yeah. And the boy that takes her to the dance, I thought he was pretty good, too.
Needs a haircut,
He was okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't really get a read on him. Like, as far as, like...
Well, he's going to come up a lot more,
I can't tell if
his... future.
Is it weird that, like, I can't tell if his hair is real or not?
It was real. That's the way
it looks weird.
He had the same hair in another movie where he got to bang Beverly D'Angelo. So
oh, nice.
Well, isn't he the one that becomes the greatest American hero?
I think you're right. Yeah.
So he has that haircut in the 80s when he plays the superhero too.
That's him.
He can't land. He can fly, but he can't land.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's.
He's
fun.
actually pretty funny. He's a good guy, and he comes up in a movie called House, which he really does a good job in that movie as well.
I really liked him in the scene where they're trying to explain to the lady teacher, the gym teacher, why they're doing what they're doing, and he's just like, I got to get the practice, and she's like, well, no, like, you're not going anywhere until we figure this out, and then like he's just literally just sitting there listening to like
but his
the ladies go back and forth. That's what I'm saying. That was his like shining moment where like he's just stuck between two ladies arguing and he can't leave. Like that was
he played
great
that very
acting. Well. It was really, really good. Almost like he'd been there before.
Yeah. 20 years ago. Because he looked like he was like at least 38.
Well, and he's so funny because all I see when I see him is Jason Garrett, the former coach of the Cowboys. They have the same face. True. And so I just keep thinking like, oh my God, Jason Garrett with too much hair. Does. Like, that's funny.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why I couldn't get a read on him. I'm like, I want to punch this guy in the face, but I don't know why.
That's why.
But he's acting so well. Why do I want to punch him in the face?
If you ever see a movie called She's All That.
I've heard of that.
Okay, that kind of is the quintessential 90s teen movie. They actually lampoon it a few times when they make the teen movie, not another teen movie kind of thing. That whole makeover of a girl to make her popular for a bet kind of thing. Like the jocks make a bet. Yeah, pick that girl, pick whoever, and I'll turn them into a popular girl.
Right.
The guy in that movie is Paul Walker. He plays like the guy that makes the bet.
Okay.
And this guy in Carrie, he plays it so well, but he's so ahead of his time because that kind of movie didn't even exist yet.
Yeah.
Maybe in the 80s you got something, a little bit of that feel, that whole make a bet, popular kids making a bet, turn some wallflower into a popular girl.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what they did here.
It's kind of what they did here. This is more wholesome, because he's actually just doing it for his girlfriend.
But they do it in the right way where you're not sure if they're in on it. I mean,
that is true.
You do know.
You don't know that until the very, very end.
Like, even when she's trying to get to the dance, Amy Allen. Or, not Amy Allen. I went to school with Amy Allen. Hi, if you're listening.
Hi, Amy Allen.
The Nancy Allen character, when Amy Irving's character goes to the dance, like, she's trying to get to the dance, she's like, all right, I'm going to go out when she's home eating.
Where are you going? Out.
Like, she still is kind of acting like she wants to witness the blood incident.
Yeah.
So
you don't know.
Right. You think the boyfriend is legit, but then he says something like, because you like my poem, even though I didn't write it. Like he gets real dicky really
Yeah.
fast, and you're like, wait, is he in on it too?
And then like he kisses her, and it's like, why is he
Yeah.
doing that? If he's just like,
doing a favor.
yeah, and it's like, is he really just trying to like make this girl's like
Night.
really great?
But they did a really good job at actually turning them into the heroes,
Yeah,
and then they just get taken out just like everybody else because they're, well, the Amy Irving does not get taken out. But
yeah, I would say
God, that
Amy
teacher
Irving.
gets rocked
Oh,
so. Jeez.
Yeah, it was good. No, I'd say that Amy Irving gets.
she
There's
gets at the
consequences
end.
for
Yeah.
her too, even though she tried to do
But in the end, she tried to do the right thing.
the right thing. She's still haunted,
Right.
basically.
I think the remake that came out in the mid 2000s, I don't remember, maybe 2012 it came out.
Okay.
Or maybe even later, maybe 2015. But it kind of plays into that more. It's more of a horror movie than this was. It's more like Final Destination. Like they play up everything that they don't play up in the original. So everything is kicked up a notch in the remake. It's not a good movie,
Okay.
but it at least modernizes a lot of the behavior, so it doesn't feel so 70s ish.
Okay.
I don't know if I recommend it, but the
It's
ending's
for
a lot
later. I
scarier.
think you'd need to see a few other things before to really get the full
Yeah.
context of that remake.
See.
A couple of real kick-ass movies, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. My other hang up is the beginning. Like you said, it opens with the shower. I
Mhm.
know either the writer or the director's point was to start the movie the way it ends, covered in blood. Like,
Okay.
but I felt like that was a jarring introduction to these people, and I really didn't feel enough for any of them. And they try to get you to feel for Carrie, but you're already in this weird situation where it's like they turned her into, not only is she someone who's so innocent that she doesn't understand what's going on, but they almost make her you never saw Nell, but there was a movie called Nell with Jodie Foster. Jodie Foster plays this woman who basically grew up in the woods. Like, she had no interaction with people.
Okay.
She couldn't speak, and
Okay.
she just has like this own language she created. It's like like it's just like so off the charts crazy. And they turned Carrie into that in the very beginning. Like she doesn't know why she's bleeding, but she was acting like she didn't even know what blood was. Like, it was just like the next level of ignorance. Like, I know her mother wouldn't teach her about her menstrual cycle, but she should at least be able to vocalize that she's bleeding. And I know they're making fun of her and they're throwing tampons at her. Like, it was just a very jarring introduction to all these people that I think just maybe one scene showing her home life first.
I mean, yeah.
would-
okay.
But
maybe should,
You'll
but you
never
don't want
forget
you want
the
to save
beginning
it.
of this movie.
No, you don't. But for not a good reason for me personally.
Yeah.
Although the nudity was nice.
Yeah. Her. Yeah. The
It was just a weird introduction to Carrie. is what I'm
the
saying.
introduction scene, the locker room scene, the all that stuff that happened with Carrie and everyone, and yeah, you're right. It wasn't. It was done in a really weird way.
Because they
And-
wanted to
and
start
here's
with
the
blood.
thing, like
That's all.
I know that like the actor who played Carrie is good, because when she got home and like she's trying to have a conversation with her mom, and she keeps saying like, you should have told me, like,
Yeah,
like
Let
that
me know.
that was such a good, like, she was good.
Yeah.
Like, she's a good actor.
You know what makes her a great actress?
She's great.
the
What?
fact she did that opening scene in the nude
Yeah.
and acted like she was fully clothed. Like, it had to be uncomfortable
Yeah.
to do a scene like that, completely nude. Pretty much an introduced actress. She hadn't done much before.
Yeah.
And she's doing some crazy next level acting in that group, because none of those girls were doing that kind of level.
No.
And like, just that whole scene with the teacher, and she's like clutching at her. Like, there was a lot going on there,
Yeah.
and she doesn't let go of that the whole movie. she's on point the whole movie.
Yeah.
There might be one or two times where she kind of could have done something else, but I have no complaints about her acting in this movie at all. It just got better and better.
Yeah, I don't either.
And just to show her finally be normal at the dance was a great transition in 1 hour. Like it was a pretty quick transition.
Yeah.
And then to watch her go from 0 to 100.
And I like how she made the transformation herself too.
Yeah.
And I like how she
made her own dress.
She made her own dress and she figured out her makeup. And
James Gunn would have been happy.
Yep.
It's a really nice dress.
That's true. and I love the conversations that she had with her mom about
I'm going to the dance.
Yeah, about going, and she's like trying to convince him that like convince her mother that like he's a nice guy, he's a nice boy, like you'll like him. He agreed to come meet you, and she's like not having it.
No, she's having a freaking coronary.
Like,
yeah, I know her. I know that woman.
Do you?
Well, how do we open the show?
Because that woman is the reason why I haven't seen any movies.
Your mother was not that bad.
No, she's not that bad.
I'm saying back then, but it was very hard to explain to her that it's not that bad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's a movie about a certain subject, but it's really not that big of a deal if you just let us watch it.
No, she's not having it at all.
Right.
And I think you're just trying to be nice to my mom.
This will be the one episode your parents listen to, by the way.
Probably. I know you're trying to be really nice to my mom, but like from my childhood, this mother, as bad as she is, and my mother isn't as bad as this mother. She reminds me a lot of my mother. Like,
now, if that character was just played by Jamie Lee Curtis,
like,
that would have been amazing.
Like, do you remember when the mother first like experienced Carrie's like power, like her powers, quote unquote, and like
is that when she shuts the windows?
Yes, and immediately it was just like, this is from the devil, right?
Now, was that before or after she turned into a giant panda?
What?
Bong.
So I haven't seen Turning Red because I'm a 37-year-old man. But my wife watched it with my daughter, and so when we were watching Carrie, my wife just keeps going, "Oh, so Turning Red is just Disney Carrie." I'm like, I guess so.
Absolutely is.
Yeah.
Cool.
I never saw Turning Red, but I know the premise.
Yeah.
But like, I remember the day that I left my parents' house. I didn't leave on good terms.
No, you didn't.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, to the point where like my mother and I like got in my truck to like back out of the driveway, and my
Sounds
dad's
like a country song
standing behind my truck so that I can't move it.
Right.
And I literally got out and I was like, I'll walk, dude. Like, you know, whatever. And I'm like walking across my front lawn to like walk away from this house that I can't stand to be in anymore.
That you grew up in.
That I grew up in. And my mother is trying to tell me like that this is the devil doing this to our family. And I'm like, and I'm trying to tell my mom like, no, I'm a grown ass man and I'm just leaving my home. That's it. Like,
yeah,
they're all gonna laugh at you.
You know what I mean? So like,
gonna laugh at you.
So like, you know, I know you're trying to be nice to my mom, but like,
oh, I have some stories if you want me to get into them.
Like, there are some parallels here. There's a saying in Philly sports radio. There's an announcer or like a DJ that also announces hockey, right?
Right.
And he says with his kids, because his kids are great. And
is it Morgani?
I forget which one it is. I think it's Al Morgani. Yeah. He says you call it early and you let it go late. Call it like a hockey game. If you're reffing a hockey game, when your kids are young, call it early. Do something if they do something that you don't like cut it, like nip it right in the bud. Like make sure that they're good early, and then like when they get older, they might make stupid decisions. But guess what? It's
their decisions.
You let it go,
and you just give more advice, and you let it go.
You let it go. You call it early, and you let it go late.
Carrie's a product of not calling it early, or actually calling it too early.
I guess so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not calling it at all. But yeah, it's a thing.
It's a good movie to learn how not to parent.
Yeah.
I don't have a closet in my house with a statue of a arrow riddled Jesus, but
That was so weird.
that had illuminated eyes.
The illuminated eyes were amazing.
Yeah.
And I know that they wanted like the the arrows in the Jesus statue to like mirror the
Knives.
kitchen
yeah.
utensils that were in the mother at the end.
Yeah.
Like in the hands.
But it didn't make
and
sense
in
as
the
someone who's
torso.
religious. I'm like, that's not Jesus. Like, what are we doing?
It's like, yeah, I mean, Jesus
You know what's
wasn't
interesting
nailed to
though?
a
And
plank.
I'm just now kind of putting this together
wall.
as I'm not a super Carrie expert. I've only seen it probably 3 times ever. But you could potentially have a backstory, and I think it would be valid based on what they give you in the movie. That Carrie as a child might start exhibiting these powers,
Mm-hmm.
and the mother may descend into madness, the madness we see in this movie, over the course of trying to rectify her daughter's abilities and whatever religious background she had to begin with. Like,
Yes.
I can imagine an arc where a young 2 or 3 year old Carrie starts moving stuff with her mind,
Mhm.
and the father's gone, and it's just like a mother's collapse into insanity. And this
Yes.
is just the fruition of that.
That to me would have been perfect. And then
But maybe
even
it's
on
there. I mean, it can be there. We just need
it's
to put
kinda
it there.
But I think it would have actually given the mother more character too, because she could have blamed herself. Like Carrie kind of blames her. Your daddy left because you're fucking nuts. Like
Right.
you drove him out. You did it.
Her performance is fantastic.
Yes. But like Dan's saying, like if they just gave you that extra 15-10 minutes.
I was
of
going
that
to say, how long
backstory,
would that take?
not
What Dan
long at all.
described,
Just
10 minutes?
one flashback, and or it could have been a flashback. Could have been like her inner room thinking or whatever.
Yeah.
And it would have given you that. It would have shown maybe the mother thought to herself, this is her punishment. She's got this demon child. This is now her punishment. Or she gets there for maybe being a bad wife, or like all these different things that could have given the mom more. You would have seen her not gradual, decline, but just a couple situations where you understand why she became what she became. So then it doesn't seem so just off the charts, outlandish.
Yeah.
Her behavior, like they never give you how she gets to that point.
I kind of
And there's
like it
not-
without it, though. The ambiguity for this one is more fun.
But I
me
like what you
as a
said.
viewer.
I think that would be a good 10-minute addition to this movie that would give you more to Carrie, because
It's-
there's a movie called Carrie. Like it would have
Yeah.
given you more of her as just one
Yeah.
scene of her finding her power and not knowing how to deal with it, and obviously the mom not knowing how to deal with it, because they kind of do that in The Exorcist as well.
Yes.
Like the
they
mom
do.
goes and sees psychiatrists
They do
and
that
whatever. She's like,
really,
she basically
really
is
well.
like, I'm at my end. I'm going to go see the priest because he seems to be the only one who knows what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
And these people are like doctorates. They can't tell me what's wrong with my daughter. So that wasn't a long scene in The Exorcist. I think it was maybe
No.
4 minutes, 5 minutes. But
Yeah.
you got all that from her because she's an amazing actress as well.
Yes, and at the end of the day, the movie The Exorcist is not about the mother either.
No.
This movie isn't about the mother, but it does give you enough to make this, to make that movie make sense.
Yeah, because of the scene in 7 where what the hell's his name? Not Mills. What was the other Murtaugh? What's his name?
Who?
Morgan Freeman. When he's
Well, you couldn't remember Morgan Freeman's name?
I couldn't remember Morgan.
Oh my God.
When he's in the library and he's putting all the shit together with the divine tragedies and all, like he's sitting there and he's looking at all these. It only was like a minute or two of him compiling all that information.
Yeah.
But it gave you so much about him.
Yeah.
And if they just showed Carrie in the library, she's so unfocused about socializing and people, because she's not a unattractive person. She's
No.
actually probably one of the most beautiful people in that school when you look at her. When she's all cleaned up at the dance, like she blew half those girls away.
Yeah.
They could have shown her more of a recluse because she didn't know what was fucking wrong with her. And maybe the school was full of kids that maybe experienced some weird shit with her, and they don't know what's wrong with her, so they treat her the way they do. Because she doesn't come off as the kind of student that would be the target. She's just a quiet kid. Like she was. So show her again, doing that 1 minute research or whatever and discovering. They kind of show it.
I kind of do.
But they don't give you enough. Because I'm angry about it because she's the best actress in this movie. And they didn't give her enough to play with. To where I just wanted to see her. I really didn't give a shit about all the other things going on because I just knew what they wanted the end result. They wanted her at that dance so they could humiliate her. And they didn't spend enough time with that character who was the best actress in the movie. So it frustrated me because I was like, with 20 more minutes, you would have gotten so much more of her and you would have really felt.
I agree.
For both those characters, the mother and her. Which you get in a few movies in the future. It's something with Stephen King stories where you're constantly getting these dynamic characters that have these moments, but in the movies, sometimes the directors or the writer does not give you what that character deserves. And I think that's why it's frustrating when you see a Stephen King movie and you read the book and everybody always says, oh, the book was better. There's only maybe 1 or 2 Stephen King movies that you're like, oh, wow, I like the book, but that movie was pretty awesome.
The Shining.
Yeah, The Shining, although Stephen King hates The Shining.
Listen.
Because it's not his book.
Agree to disagree with that one.
What, you agree with him or you agree with me?
I agree to disagree with Stephen King because I like the movie
Right.
The Shining way
No,
better
me too.
than the book.
Yes.
George, next week, I
Yes.
think we should watch a movie. What do you say?
We could.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Okay. George, let's let Travis tell you what you're watching next week.
Oh, wait. Before we do this, there's
you're going to give it a rating?
There's one last thing. Last week when you told me what I was watching,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I referred to a movie that happened in a junkyard.
Yes.
Or like a mechanic shop. I don't remember the female's name that starts with C that is that movie. But it is a movie.
It is a movie.
What was it called? Catherine or something?
Yes,
is that what it
Catherine.
is?
Yes.
Okay. So when you
Nailed
said
it.
Carrie, I was thinking, oh,
It's Catherine.
okay. They're showing me that movie that
Yes,
the
well-
Halloween whatever was based off of. And you guys are like, no.
This
nope.
week we will be watching Catherine.
I'm like, I was way off. But was I really?
Samsonite. I was way off.
Yeah, exactly. It was, yes.
Well, and
Samsonite.
Catherine is not a De Palma movie. It's a different
No.
director.
Sure. Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know anything, so
Yeah.
sure. But when you said Carrie, I was like, oh, isn't that the movie that they were talking about during Halloween? No,
Yes,
pretty funny.
but no.
not at all.
So, no, it's the one we were talking about during Friday the 13th, Part 7.
Yes. No,
Yes.
yeah. I remember that conversation too.
Well-
And as soon as she starts moving things with her mind,
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, that's the reference to Friday the 13th. And then at the very end, I'm like, wait, that's the reference to Friday the
Yes,
13th.
sir.
Yeah. So,
So they basically made Carrie versus Jason
yes.
without paying for the rights of Carrie.
They did. Carrie versus Jason. I love it.
Yeah. So this week we'll be watching a movie called Catherine.
For real?
We are going to watch
That'd be cool.
Christine.
Christine. Oh, no, it's not.
Christine. It's not
you
Catherine. It's
motherfucker.
Christine.
Christine. I'm like, dude, it's another lady's
Yeah.
name that starts with C.
Yeah,
All right.
it's starring Al Pacino.
Are
It's called Christine.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Hello, Christine.
Stop it, because
Say hello to my little Christine.
you know when you tell me things,
Mhm.
I have no choice to believe, but to believe.
You're
you.
right. You're
That's
right.
why
Because
we
I
do
don't know anything.
Yeah,
So be nice to me. I'm basically like a little Carrie here watching movies.
you're right.
And if there's a lesson to be learned from this movie,
just don't fuck with Carrie.
it's to be nice to weird people.
Yes.
Why didn't you
well,
tell me?
Sometimes we have to throw tampons at you, though.
Why? It's no fun if we don't throw tampons
Yeah,
at
I
you
mean,
first.
Seriously, we got to throw a tampon once in
You
a
guys
while.
suck.
So, yeah, Christine, a
Yes,
movie.
Christine.
Christine.
You should watch it, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. I kind of can't wait because, again, this is another movie I haven't seen in a while. Whether it holds up or
You're
not.
gonna have to like text me the right female name that starts with C, because I'm not gonna remember.
Yeah.
Christine.
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 All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank your listeners, George.
Thanks, listeners. And I sometimes I feel like I should thank the listeners, and other times I feel like I should apologize to the listeners. So
I think tonight we
thank
should tell the
you.
listeners, if you run into George's parents, please don't tell them to listen to this episode.
thank you, and I'm sorry.
I've done enough therapy in my life that we're in a good place, and I really don't need them to listen to this episode. I just celebrated my 30th anniversary with my wife together.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And yeah, the first 8, as we call it.
Well, hold on. 30
was a
years.
doozy. Yeah.
30 years.
30 years.
And I'm 34.
Okay, so you were 5.
So I've
when
known
you were 5 when I met
4
you.
or 5.
4 and
yeah.
a half. Yeah.
Yeah.
I put you to bed.
Boom.
I read you stories.
That's how long I've known this guy.
Hey, thank you for joining us on the Remedial Film Class podcast. As always, you can find us at facebook.com/remedialfilmpod. We'll be back next week with the John Carpenter classic, Christine.